This video will document the lift that we are putting on a 2000 Jeep Cherokee XJ. This is going to be a 4-inch lift provided to us by Rough Country. They're awesome. These guys freaking, they're the bomb. This is just the basic lift, so it's not a long arm kit or anything like that. And the first thing that we're going to do, of course, is get the Jeep up on jack stands. The way we do things here is down on the ground. We don't have a lift. So we do everything down on the ground and in our shop, which is right out back behind the house. So here we go. And at this point, once you get the vehicle up on the jack stands, we'll go ahead and remove the wheels. Once the wheels are removed, it'll give us access to all the suspension components that we'll be addressing in this particular section of the video. This will take just a few seconds, so we'll let you enjoy some music while we watch. Now with the wheels removed, we can see underneath the vehicle here, and we'll start by removing the shocks, the shock mounts. At this point, if you're replacing the brake lines, we'll go ahead and remove the brake lines. And then eventually we'll undo the lower control arm so we have access to lower the axle and give us access to the springs. I will say at this point too, hopefully we didn't mention it at the start of the video, but hopefully you've put a good bit of either WD-40 or PB Blaster, something to make sure that your bolts and nuts will come off easily. This is a Southern Jeep, so we're not dealing with a whole lot of rust. We were very fortunate in the fact that up to this point all the bolts had come off with no real trouble, but PB Blaster and WD-40, something to keep the nuts loosened, and if there is any rust or surface rust on them, that the penetrating oil will give you access to the bolts and nuts, and they'll come out with ease. Okay, so at this point you'll notice we've got the shocks removed, we've got the springs removed. All of the steering components are still in place at this point, but we removed the calipers. We've hung them up out of the way. We'll remove the brake lines because we've got extended brake lines. We've removed the lower control arms. At this point we still have the upper control arms in place, and you'll notice in the next segment that we're going to start manipulating. We've got the right side spring in at this point. Start manipulating the axle, and then my son has come up with an easier way. Now with us doing this on the floor, we don't have access to a lift, so with us doing this on the floor, you want to come up with as many tricks and tips as possible to make the installation of the springs as easy as possible. That's really the most difficult part of dealing with the front suspension. So in the next segment, my son will explain to you a little trick that he uses to make it a little easier, and he'll go from there. Okay, so at this point you'll notice that we're going to adjust the spring to make sure that it's seated in the housing correctly. There's a little notch there you'll see shortly. But we're going to jack the right side, driver's side of the vehicle up at this point to compress that spring, give us a little better access to the passenger side. Here's the tip that my son uses to help us out.
Alright, so basically the instructions ask us to take the coil springs out by dropping the front end on each side without removing the control arms. But I found it much easier to remove the control arms immediately on both sides, drop the coil springs at the same time by supporting the body at the unibody point so the axle is free flowing, and then using a small floor jack or a jack and a small floor stand to manipulate the axle where I wanted it to. And that's how I got the coil springs back in. So It's a little bit easier. On the rough country video, they have a lift and they can actually manipulate the front end a whole lot more than we can from the ground. So you always want to make sure that your coil spring is seated in its place. So we'll shift this one all the way over to find its groove. And there's its groove. So whenever we bring the front end back up, it should level itself back out. Pull the front end out of alignment a little bit, but once we get the control arms back in, it should line itself up pretty good. Next step is to drill a hole to the track bar and get our new control arms in.
We'd like to thank you for watching our video. If you have any questions, if you'd like to know more about the products we used in this video, hit like and subscribe to the channel. We've got many more videos to post. We've done a 2016 Toyota Tundra with the 3.5-inch lift. That video will be posted soon. And also the Jeep TJ that you saw there. Got tons of rough country products on it. We will be reviewing all of those. So if you got any questions, any tips, cons, pros, anything that you want to add, feel free to like and subscribe to the channel. And then also, like I said in my description, this page is for all of us that love rough country. Whether we've had good experiences or bad experience with the product, this channel is dedicated to us being able to show off our rigs and rides, whatever they are, and give a review of the products and let people know that it's worth the money. Like I said, for me, it's definitely worth the money. Everything that I do is budget minded. I wish I had a huge bank account where I could bankroll all these big nice trucks and all this stuff like that, but we do pretty well with what we've got. So again, if you liked it, thank you. Like the video, like and subscribe to the channel, and we'll keep good content coming. So we appreciate it. You have a good day.